Welcome back to the channel. I got a goodie for y'all today. Growing up, I don't even think half the stuff that's mentioned in these discussions was even brought up in school. But in today's day and age, it's more key, it's uh it's super important that we discuss it. It's super important that we get to the bottom line. But listen, we're gonna be reacting to the liberal teachers versus conservative parents. I guess I'm a conservative parent. I ain't really nothing political, but I'm not with the liberal teachings. If that's teaching, young kids 5, 6, 7, I know that wasn't in my school. I know that's not ABCs 1, 2, 3, science, history, reading. It's not in there. Why they want to put it in there now? I'm gonna have to keep reiterating it. The only opinions that matter is transgenders. Only opinion that matters is transgenders. It don't no. It doesn't matter if you think the school is reaching with trying to teach this stuff or teaching your kid about this stuff before you even do. Don't matter. Your kid's safety don't matter. Your kid well-being don't matter. What matters is keeping everybody else comfortable. This type of stuff I be saying. When did our safety ever matter? Only thing that matters is the agenda at hand, which is never ours.
Who should decide what's being taught?
Parents. I think that parents should have a huge say in what's going on in the classroom because it's their kids, not ours. As a public school teacher, 15 years, I was always aware that these are not my children. We have to make sure that we're respecting parents and their beliefs and their values.
I think the Constitution agrees with that.
Yes.
Here in America, ranging back to the early 1900s, plenty of Supreme Court cases have ruled in that favor that it is the parents' right ultimately to decide a child's education, medical needs, etc.
I would push back though and say that there does need to be collaboration, right? I completely respect your idea of it is not our job as educators to put forth a belief in front of children, right? That includes not perpetuating parents' beliefs in the classroom as well. In my opinion, that would be keeping a non-biased viewpoint, simply presenting issues and then allowing kids to decide for themselves.
I would agree that I think it needs to be a collaborative effort. The way that we decide curriculum in Texas is that work groups comprised of community members, educators, parents, even in some cases students and public service officials come together to draft curriculum plans, and then it's ultimately decided on by our State Board of Education, which has a lot of kind of assistance from parents as well. So I think that kind of format can be really effective because it also empowers students to become involved in the fate of their education. And as a student myself, I think that that's incredibly important because our perspectives need to be heard as well.
The voices of parents need to be heard.
I like what they're doing in Texas. I like that. Get everybody involved, teachers, students, faculty, people around the area. Get everybody's opinion. At the same time, everybody's opinion don't hold the same weight. I understand you want to get students definitely know, what they want to learn, what they're struggling with. You need their opinion
in that equation. But unfortunately, what we've seen recently is that parents' voices have been demonized in this process. You've seen parents who've criticized local school boards labeled terrorists simply for caring about the quality of their education that their child is receiving. These teachers are temporary caretakers. When they come back home, it's the parent who has to explain that this is this radical belief that was put in front of you. This was this idea that you've never been raised around that parent now has to explain. And at the end of the day, that isn't just confined to a classroom. Now it's bleeding into their upbringing. And there's only one person responsible for their upbringing, and that's the parents. It's not the
True and false. I mean, but listen, this is what our parents are here for. You're gonna go to school. They're gonna teach some things, and listen, when they start teaching about Christopher Columbus, and I'm coming home with history assignments, this is what the school is teaching me: Christopher Columbus discovered America. And then I got my mom telling me, well, that's not necessarily true. So if your parents are there and your parents is in the right mind, they're gonna correct the stuff that the school is, trying to push down your throat, or they're not gonna let that stuff like stay in your mind. They're gonna correct you. But you know that like that's what having a strong parent is. But you can't. Everybody doesn't have strong parents. So if the school teacher says that this is the way things are, and there's no like man in the house or no two-parent household, that child gonna take whatever you taught them and run with it, because there's nobody in their right mind telling them, well, like everything that the schools teach you isn't always necessarily right. That's why y'all need to focus on math, science, reading, nothing else. Not politics, not this sexual orientation stuff.
Educators, not the teacher, it's their parents.
I like the idea of the collaboration, and obviously parents' voices belong at that table. I also like the emphasis on students having a say in this, and also other people adults that aren't parents. I'm invested in that too, even though I don't have children of my own. And I hear what you're saying about having to, like, parents.
You don't got kids? Don't invest into how kids should be raised. I don't take relationship advice from somebody that's not married. I'm not taking kid advice from somebody who doesn't have kids. I'm not taking money advice from somebody who has less money than me or has not proven themselves to make money. You know what I mean? Like, people need to know how to remove themselves from certain situations.
Needing to confront or address, I guess, like what kids are learning at school, but giving kids the exposure to other ideas or other things that they wouldn't be exposed to otherwise is, I think, part of what's going to help raise the next generation of people that are able to look outside their own lived experience.
But I think
it's true. Giving kids new ideas is cool, but without context, you're telling people to just get new information. There's a lot of bad new information out there that I don't want my kid to know. So what you're saying is, I understand what you're saying because she's clearly like gay or whatever. So yeah, introduce kids to, other options, but no, don't stop putting stuff out there without any context. And we know what it's alluding to, but you put it out there with no context as if somebody like me is not going to catch it. Come, cut it out. Let's not even do it.
think that oftentimes those different ideas are presented in the classroom as a student as the only idea. When you're being taught that, oh, there's this many genders or anything like this, where you haven't been exposed to that in your own household, it's being presented as like the end all be all when it actually isn't. It's about educating and not indoctrinating. As long as that is presented as a counterpoint to, well, there's people who believe this, but there's also people who believe this, that's okay. The reality of it is that in most classrooms across the country, that isn't what's happening.
And to piggyback off of that, one side is labeled as a bigot, white supremacist, homophobic. There's a lot of parents in America that are Christian, or they believe in two genders, gender binary. And if you say that as a teacher, especially, you could be labeled as homophobic. So there isn't this unbiased classroom because there's one side that can't really be, as loud as the other side without risk of, losing our jobs even.
But you two are kind of
Absolutely right. This is like a one-sided affair. I can say whatever I want, but people can't say, like, you can't hurt feelings without being threatened with being fired, or, you know what I mean? And it's like the LGBTQ, the gays, they want to act like they want to play victim when they're sparking a fire. And they're the biggest gaslighters in America.
the ones that brought in the conflict of like, there is an indoctrination going on and only one side it has this opinion and this side is not allowed to talk and we have to be quiet. When really you guys are actually the loudest in regards to this issue thus far, right?
Now, yes,
so,
in
yeah,
this
so
room,
I
yes.
wouldn't necessarily say that that's the quiet. What I would say though is like, I do want to push away if possible, and I'd love for you to hear this, right? Is that idea of someone sees me and they go, oh, you're one of those that teach that there's 72 different types of gender. Desmond Fambrini, he, him, gender fluid, bisexual. My students do not know this because it doesn't come up because I'm a learning specialist and it's my job to educate and teach a curriculum, right? Now, if I'm asked directly by a parent or if there's confusion, oh, why do you wear makeup? Same reason why girls do, because it's fun for me. It doesn't need to be this very controversial, I'm going to mess with this child's upbringing. They're going to go home and they're going to turn into a gender fluid and they're going to think there's 72 genders.
I think that's the question.
Man, listen. that is something that needs to be explained and nipped in the bud immediately. If I like what he don't understand is, I don't know, I think that's a man, right? What he don't understand is like my son's not dumb, my daughter's not dumb. They've been on the earth. We've all been on the earth for a certain amount of time. When you're on the earth, you realize, okay, there's boys and there's girls. Okay, there's big boys, there's big girls. Those are women, those are men. Right? My son knows this, he's 5. My son knows that I don't wear makeup or like paint my nails. That's what his sister does. My son knows that's what his sister does. He doesn't see his uncles, his any other, most of the men around him doing that. So if he was to show up in school and see like a man with lipstick on or notice, you don't think that would be weird for him? I'm not sure if he would ask the question, but I could see a kid asking a question like, "Why do you have lipstick on?" And that needs to be nipped in the bud. Like, what would suffice for me would be, yeah, men aren't supposed to wear makeup, but this is the life that I choose to live. Like I'm comfortable with myself, and this is what I like to do. Men don't usually do this, but this is what I do. That shows me, oh, okay, cool, bet, gotcha, boom, problem solved. All right, that's what you do. That's cool. You're a different breed. You might even get some respect off of that. But telling me I can do the same thing that women do, or telling my child or another parent because I can, okay, but why are you doing it? You never had a teacher when you was younger say, I said, can I go to the bathroom? And she replied to me, I don't know, can you? Like, bro, we can do anything. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it smart, doesn't make it what the majority thinks is, If a parent comes to you and asks, like, why do you have makeup on? Yes, as a teacher, you should know, nip that in the bud. Or in other words, like, it's gonna lead to more questions. Okay, you saying I can do it, I can wear makeup because I want to. That's just, well, what do you mean? You're just gonna lead to more questions, as opposed to saying, well, yeah, I do wear makeup. This is not what men are supposed to do, but this is the life I choose to live. I'm comfortable like this. This, everybody doesn't do this, but I do this. You will get so much more respect.
And you say you should go ask your parents about how they feel about that.
Well, so
And
okay, yeah.
teachers are supposed to teach reading, math, science, the things that are actually going to make them
Reading, math,
contribute to
science.
society. Answering a child's questions about whether or not men or women should be wearing makeup or not is, I don't think, within that realm.
Okay, so you said science, right? So we're talking about a physical science, we're talking about human anatomy and biology here. So a child says, I thought boys could not wear makeup. I have an X and Y chromosome and I'm wearing makeup. I could factually answer that without indoctrination.
We live in a world today where a teacher's gonna straight out his face say a kid thought that men couldn't wear makeup, as if that means men can't physically just put on makeup and it's not gonna be weird. Men don't wear makeup means we're not supposed to wear makeup. Not that we literally can't put it on. As a teacher, if you getting this confused, why would I want my student in your classroom? If you putting these type of ideas out for the world, what are you teaching my kids? Men don't wear makeup. Well, I'm wearing makeup. Bro, it's not even like a literal question. But like look, we got the people that's teaching our kids saying stuff like this.
Any opinion.
But it's in no way scientific, your answer to that question.
How is that not scientific?
I would say maybe cultural, or it's a perception or an opinion, but it's in no way scientific.
Anyone else? I am a chatty person, so I'm going to take a pause and I'm going to let's see if anyone else has something to say.
So I just had one question for
Scientific?
you, because not all homes are welcoming or open
Or
to
safe.
conversation or safe. So how do we balance that?
I think that what we're saying is that there's certain conversations that are not to be had with a teacher. And I think that the argument that a lot of people on the right and conservatives are making is that we just don't feel as if actors of the state should be having conversations that are taxpayer funding conversations with children about conversations that have not come up in their own households. And to that point, if you can't talk about God in the classroom, why can we talk about every gender under the sun, right? I think that's the
They want to say you can't bring up religion in school, but they bring up politics and they bring up this gender stuff. you'll learn a lot by what they don't allow as opposed to what they do allow. Because what they do allow is so left field. It's just like, why would you allow this? There's 3 things over here that you should allow that people are asking for, but you allow the thing over here that nobody really wants. When I say nobody, I mean like the majority doesn't agree with. But you're pushing your minority agenda of your minority transgender agenda, and that's all that matters. Flooded into the schools.
This is how Christianity originated. This is
understand.
how Islam originated.
I
We don't
understand.
talk about like this is what this gender is, and this is if you feel this way, then there's gender affirmation therapy,
So,
all those things.
I think you actually bring up a really good parallel of like, I feel comfortable and I feel like it is okay to talk about identity issues the same way we talk about God, not indoctrinating anyone, not telling this is what you have to be or you have to believe, but saying this is something that some people believe.
But in the sense of gender identity, I don't see that parallel. How is that making someone more literate, more successful?
What I hear you saying is that learning about different gender identities does not make somebody a more considerate, well-rounded person, but learning about different religions does make you a more considerate, well-rounded.
I'm saying that is a part of history. I don't understand where
okay.
gender identity falls
So-
within what we should be teaching.
Religious history and God comes into play in terms of history, cool. But don't gay people and trans people too? It's not like I'm the first transgender person to ever walk this earth. Like there are trans people that were and gay people who were part of major movements in this country, like from the civil rights movement to the feminist movement to, obviously Stonewall.
I don't even think, man, listen, I think that's a girl. She's lumping herself in with these LGBTQ, but it's like, we all know that it's been gay people forever. We all know this. That's not the problem. The problem is now more than ever, y'all are trying to make it acceptable as if the human race is gonna keep going on if gay people keep being more gay and like, bro, y'all can't make babies. I don't want to hear that.
Essentially, what you're asking is, who do you trust the most with your children? Who do you trust to give them the cultural values that I have and then fill in the gaps where I don't necessarily know the answer, but I trust that they're experts and are going to give my children the attention that they need in order to develop so that they can be a better version of themselves?
If I had to choose one, it's public school. It is the best tool we have to give everybody a chance at a good education, no matter where you come from, how much money you have. Public schools, where not everybody thinks the same and people are coming from all walks of life, is a good like microcosm of that global experience, where you can learn critical thinking skills and learn how to be a good community member, because not every.
Shout out to Albany High. Albany High is the best public school in the fucking America. Ranked #1 in academics. We're a public school, better than the private schools in the area. And it was in the hood, and we had mad white kids, mad diverse. I fucking love Albany High, man. Shout out to Albany High, class of 2011. But yeah, public school is great. As long as you got great teachers, anything is possible. When you're not that high-end, agenda-driven, it could be great. Yeah, we was the blackest school in the neighborhood, but had the #1 academics, you heard? The most AP courses, the most college courses, the most advanced classes in a public school in the middle of the hood. Yeah, white kids was going there. They loved it. We loved them. I don't got a problem with nobody till I hear them left-wingist opinions.
However, what about the parents that don't have a choice? Like I'm thinking about like the most marginalized community when I said
Absolutely.
public schools here, because I agree with you. The public schools have a lot of work to do to become the safe places where our kids are not in institutions where they're ignored or not giving the services they need. And also for the people that don't have a choice and that is the only option their kids have, I just believe that's worth fighting for. That's why I said public
Absolutely.
schools.
I'm a big advocate for school choice.
Well, why don't we just
Yeah.
show of hands? Who believes in school choice?
Can you just specify like what do you mean
So
by that?
that's where parents can apply the money that they pay to taxes. They get vouchers and they can put that into any school that they want. It's very popular in red states right now, and a lot of blue states are against it, especially teachers unions are against it because it's taking money away from the public schools and creating more of a competitive market.
Right. That's why I wouldn't raise my hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah.
understand.
Sometimes with
like
school
that.
choice, it gets a
I don't-
little bit tricky, right? I had my first class had the first day I had 25 students. By day 2, I had 19 because 6 parents switched out of the class because they saw me and they were like, "There's no freaking way." Before I even got a word in.
As a parent, I would want to know, like, do you not think
Even know, like, so much communication is unspoken. So I see you, I see your aura, I see before I even speak to you, okay, you've told me the decisions that you've made throughout your life based on how you look, basically. Now with all these other people out here speaking, I don't know what you're thinking, but I have an assumption. Do I want this type of person teaching my kid that even though they're doing something that's like not normal, you can still tell people at the end of the day, you better accept me. And I don't think that's how the world works. I don't think that's how children should grow up. And I wouldn't want you implementing that type of mindset into my child. You know, like, nah, and you gotta understand that people are gonna feel that way. I understand people are gonna feel a way about me just because I'm black. I'm not out here saying you shouldn't look at me however you want. You're just showing me how you perceive me and what your thoughts are. And you know, like, pretty much that. Like, I accept myself. I'm not looking for nobody to be like, well, I don't want you teaching my child. But being black is a different subject as opposed to, you know, being like a LGBTQ, being a man wearing lipstick. And then, like I said, if you don't answer my child right, he's going to have more questions. You're going to mess him up in the head. Then I got to come correct that.
that is okay or they're right to withdraw when they see you? Because ultimately, you're probably an excellent
I
educator.
appreciate that.
I have no doubt about that. But I think we get into muddy waters when we start trying to take that choice away from the parent.
Do I think that it is okay for a parent to see me and go, not around my kid? No, I don't think that's okay.
That's fine. Do I think it's okay that I might get looked over because I'm black? I don't think it's okay. At the same time, I don't push it upon people to accept me.
I feel like that's really crossing the line because you are, for lack of better words, discriminating against me openly. That's like seeing a black teacher and being like, there's no way. It is the same. It is.
I don't feel like it's the same. Black doesn't mean uneducated. Black doesn't mean I have views that are not normal, that go against science. I feel like if you're his type, you have views that go against science. If you're going against science, you're going against these millions of years of evolution. How is my kid gonna learn from that? That's different than saying, "Oh, well, you're black. Well, I think you're uneducated. I think that you don't know science, math, or reading." Nah, if you're LGBTQ so you believe that there are more than 2 genders. So you believe that even though you're born with a penis, you can be a girl, and so I can just go on and on and on with that. There's no way you can start with I'm black, so you believe that. So that's just different. I don't like how we just threw that. He's black. He's trying to cope out. It's not the same.
Same.
It's
Not
still the
quite.
right of the parent to make that decision as to whether or not they want their child to learn from you.
Okay.
Like, it's still that parent's right. Like, you can disagree with their motivations, their motives, their ideas,
Would you
but
say
it
that
is still their child.
Go back a little bit to like when you guys are raising your hands about the different choices. You raise your hand for homeschooling. Can you talk us through like why do you think homeschooling is the best option?
Well, if we look at the history of this country, a lot of people were homeschooled. A lot of our founders were homeschooled. Like they only went to school till third grade, a lot of them. And I think what has happened is parents have decided that the government is going to do a better job at raising their children than themselves. We have also come to a place where school is taking up the majority of our day. And we have this mistrust of parents that they can't educate their own children. And I think that that's wrong. I think that a lot of parents, and if you look at homeschool data, like my friend Phil right here, he's got 7 kids and he's homeschooling them all. And actually homeschool kids are turning out.
Shout out to Phil. He gangster, man. He homeschooling 7 kids, yo. That's the right way, bro. Word. I ain't gonna hold you up. You doing the right thing.
Schools is negative influences. One of the biggest things I think when it comes to homeschool is keeping my kids away from your bad kids. We've went and taken our children to pride parades. And you know what I mean? We've been there, we've been loving, and we showed support to the people there. But at the same time, we explain our views on the matter that we believe marriage is between a man and a woman. And from experience and talking to people, I understand that a lot of people who choose that lifestyle, it is based on trauma. A lot of were molested or sexually assaulted as children. So I don't think it's okay for me to teach to my children that this is something normal we ought to accept when it doesn't progress society. We would not be able to procreate if everybody were to choose that lifestyle. So I think it's okay for me as a parent to say, hey, this exists, that exists, but this is our view on it, and this is how we want to present it to them.
Do you think it's somewhat problematic that you're going like, well, this is our viewpoint, that marriage is between a man and a woman because we can't move society forward with gay couples? Like, we have factually proven that incorrect.
There are probably some people that are born gay, but for the most part, no. You grow up, you go out, you find your first little crush. It's usually the opposite sex. Then you see somebody, you see a gay couple, you say, that's weird. I don't really like that. I'm choosing women. Girls, they have a crush on, but they're choosing men. A little gay boy is going to say, you know what? I don't choose a woman. I want to choose a man.
15 years.
So
and
have I.
I will say that there is some kids now that are going for that community that are doing it not out of a genuine, and there's pockets of them too. Like you'll notice like friend groups of girls that will all of a sudden decide that they're now trans.
The idea of LGBTQ being trending and the idea of teaching kids
Literally.
that
It's
being
like an
gay is a
epidemic.
choice,
It's
those
like,
are two very
I
different
mean, I'm not trying to say it's sickness, but it's like a little epidemic.
Absolutely.
So
When
you could,
can you tell us about it?
so
Could
you
you consider
actually,
the
you
alternative?
could
Like-
be attracted to me if you wanted to be.
Absolutely.
Well,
Okay.
And let me explain. I have seen transgendered people who I thought were born female that were very attractive. I didn't know. Now, once I find out that that's not what you are, I am choosing not to pursue that. That's what I mean. So yes, you can be attracted to someone that is of another gender.
Let's talk about what do you think should be taught about gender identity in school? What do you think is
Nothing.
being taught?
I want to go back to something you were saying earlier that's related to this about like you're seeing trends, and I am too, right? Last semester when I was teaching, I had a trans kid in every classroom.
How old is she teaching? Why is that normal? Why is that like a good change? That means more kids are being confused. More kids are growing up confused. Not in the right state of mind. That's the change that you want? Like, people want change just for the fact of having change. Like, if the wheel ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Why would you want more? Why would you want change just to have change in it? But like now it's like a negative change. You can't see it just because you want change. Listen, you gotta get me on one of these panels. I'll tell you what y'all need to hear. But listen, man, like, comment, subscribe. I need everything. We need everything. Appreciate everybody that watched. I got more for y'all. Don't worry about it.